What's up, everybody? Sometimes when prices go down, you got to have something to pick you up. And that's what Brody's here for today. Oh, not his shirt. His shirt revealing a lot too much. There's the man, the myth, legend. This is what it's all about. Guys, we're talking about Ethereum today. We're talking about more H-bar. We're talking about Bitcoin. This is the Investing Bros. Let's hit it. What's going on, everyone? Just one of those special days. Tay and Brody get to come say hey, Tay. They don't get to see you very often. You are fine. You are fine. Come here. It's the old familia. You gotta dip your head down. What's up? What's up? Yeah, they came and saw me at the office today because they knew I was down about prices. You know,
precious.
Just one of those things. T-shirt, how are you doing today? We're gonna talk about crypto. We're gonna talk about why things dipped and then had a little bit of a bounce today. But how are you doing?
You know, I'm doing better than I deserve, Tim. And I don't say that very often, but I really am. You know, today's been one of those days where I did have a couple of moments to reflect on just how good things are. But I've got a quote of the day here from Jamie Lee Curtis. He said, "I've always put my family first, and that's just the way it is."
Jamie Lee Curtis, Southern Living.
That's right.
Hey, that's a good quote. That is a good quote. KV says, "Render, please, Tim." You know, we've talked about that. I like talking about render. I like render. We'll try to do some render TA when the time is right, KV. So thank you for the suggestion. We got a lot to discuss. Again, Ethereum is going to be the main topic. Got some big news coming out this morning on the front of the Ethereum ETFs. I'll spoil it. We'll get into the details. The SEC and Gary Gensler are going to deny the ETF for Ethereum, according to Reuters. You know, I like to say Reuters, but T-Shirm hates when I say that. He hates when I mispronounce things. Reuters just announcing that. We're going to get into that. You might be wondering, though, why the markets are down. We're going to be taking a look. We had a suggestion in our members-only stream. We're going to take a quick look in the beginning of the video here at some of the stock market issues going on. Definitely the SPY, the S&P 500. But before we get there, T-Shirm, anything you want to say to the nice people?
The principle remains the same. We buy low, we sell high. We look for undervalued assets, no matter where they are, whether they're stocks, whether they're crypto. So that's what I want to say.
Hey, that's a good thing to say. Let's go ahead and check out what's happening in crypto. Then we're going to take a look at what's happening on the SPY, and then we'll take a look at Bitcoin, and we'll do some render, KV. We'll do some render today before we even get into news and everything else. Yeah. As a whole, let's take a look here what prices are doing. Let's update this page, and as you guys see, it's glitching all over the place. There we go. There we go. Back to 144. Now, Bitcoin was down today earlier a little bit, but it is back up. It says 1.4% in the last 24 hours. It seems strange that we were up 1% for the last 24 hours. But I guess yesterday during the show, we must have been right at 64, give or take. Ethereum up 1.6. Definitely talking about Ethereum. Here's the thing, though. Despite that bad news, Ethereum's price isn't really doing anything. So that's a good sign, honestly.
Yeah, let me jump in there. With Ethereum, so some of you may be new to markets, new to crypto, new to like drilling in on technical analysis. When we say something is baked in, this is the epitome of baked in, right? The market had full understanding that Ethereum the spot ETF would be rejected. Because some of you might have seen this headline on my screen and been like, wait, that's really bad. Is crypto dead now? Like the SEC is banning Ethereum? It's not a ban, right? It's not bad. It is negative, but it is something that is baked in. The market was well educated on the likelihood of it not being passed. So, Tim, let's proceed. But I wanted to jump
Absolutely. Yeah, and we'll kind of go more into that here later on in the show. But as a whole, again, up day for Ethereum, even though the news is not great, that's not a bad thing. Solana down 0.38%, excuse me. We'll have to look at that chart. It did something interesting we predicted here the other day. XRP is down 0.9. Dogecoin slightly up. Cardano up 3.8%. So it's actually going to round out number 10, but has the big – oh, well, it just shifted on me. So now we're all over the place. Why did that shift like it did? It went from being up 3% to now it's down 0.13. Anyway, there we go. That'll wrap out. Best moving coin is BNB in the last 24 hours. Let's take a look at the biggest ones as a whole. Wormhole T-Shroom, after a lot of time in the red, and the other day we mentioned this was one that all across the board was red, having a very good day today, up 21%. Any idea as to why that is, T-Shroom, other than it just had been really, really far down, kind of gotten beaten down over the last couple of weeks? You don't have any information there?
I don't. I will. I'll look into it though.
My guess is it's just too good of a buy spot. Price had been very, very suppressed. You guys can see the last 90 days down 53, last 30 days down 51, and that's including this recent 21% spike. So it was a lot worse here not that long ago. Bonk. It's weird on a day with a lot of mixed news and Bitcoin starting off moving the downside. Bonk is up 16%. Pepe up 5.6. So two meme tokens are up in our top gainers. Say is also up there at 10%. Phantom is up at 6. Theta, Conflux, and we already talked about BNB. Let's take a look at our biggest losers, though, because we do have some of those. Biggest one, 6.5%, Immutable X. Ronin coming in at 6%. Core, 5.5%. H-Bar, Hedera. Again, we're going to reference that today. Not a lot, though. We've kind of, the last 2 days, we rode the emotions of what is happening with Hedera. We'll touch on that briefly, kind of give that story a nice, pretty bow, and we will move on from H-Bar. Algo is also a big loser. Nervos, AOs, and Jupiter as well. Let's go ahead and take a look really quickly at Bitcoin charts. Like we said, Bitcoin the other day, yesterday here, bounced off of this trend line, this falling trend line. Let's turn Lux off for just a second. Let's turn off, I don't know, I had Bollinger Bands on. Oh, was that T-Shroom or something?
Oh, gosh.
Bounced off of our level of resistance. We started coming down lower. We're getting a little bit of a bounce, as we said earlier, but let's see if we get a higher move going in. We'll take a look at that chart a little more in depth. But one of the reasons why you probably are seeing Bitcoin go slightly down, SPY, this is the S&P 500, has been, since setting a high here a couple of days ago back on, when I say a couple of days ago, I guess I mean like almost a month ago at this point now. March 28th, we came up here. We were really high. I guess April 1st, technically, right in that range. Why is that jumping around like that? I guess the weekend of March 28th into that first week of April, because there's a whole weekend off there. We hit our high, and the SPY has been coming down here ever since. While we are technically a little in the green today, we have our white little candles right there. This is kind of why we are a little bit going down. I will say, from the Lux Algo perspective, we hit our take profit on the first sell order, and it looks like we're bouncing here on the daily chart off of this pink line, which this is a newer one we're using here, guys. This is a part of Lux Algo. You guys know our charts are always brought to you guys by Lux Algo. This is where what we call an order breaker, or a breaker block, where an order block that probably should have been utilized at least somewhat as support with a heavy amount of buying and selling was just blasted right through. And you can see here, we came up yesterday, rejected on that line, that breaker block, and then fell back down. Now, we're going to be able to make a push and get back up into it. We'll have to wait and see, but that is a bearish sign right there for the SPY. Let's see if this take profit was good enough, or if we're going to come down a little bit lower. But that is taking a look at the stock market as a whole. A lot of things in the stock world is negative. I mean, just take a look at this. Meta down 10%, opened up today. Big gap in here, but the earnings report, not exactly what you want to see. We'll have a breaker block right in there that is going to serve. We'll see if that serves as some form of resistance. Tesla, the one of the few stocks we do see continuing to be positive after just being obliterated. We got a new take profit suggestion after a buy order yesterday saying we could bounce back up as high as $200. So keep an eye there on Tesla. But as a whole, the stock world kind of cooling off after being explosive. So that's going to factor in and play a small role in crypto and Bitcoin as to where money is flowing right now in the market. We're going to break down in the news some more conversation as to some of the things that's happening in Washington, D.C. that could work with these prices and be suppressing them for a short time. We're going to dispel some FUD, have that fun discussion. But let's take a look at Bitcoin here real quickly and go more in depth on the TA. As I said, we rejected right there on that trend line. We do still have a take profit lower. I think there's still a decent chance 56.55 is hit on Bitcoin. We've been discussing that for a while. Nothing has changed. We come over here while we started to see some positivity from our oscillators. Let's just start with the Lux Algo oscillator. We got the positive money flow. We got the green support, but now we have printed today a bearish momentum dot right there. Not very strong, but kind of ending all that bullishness we had on the daily chart with a very small pullback right there. MACD was crossing bullish, and now it's deciding it doesn't really know what it wants to do. It wants to stay sideways, where it looks like we're ejecting on the 50 on the RSI, and the stochastics RSI doesn't really know what it wants to do. So is this overwhelmingly super bearish? No, but it's kind of neutral when you're looking at the oscillators. And when you're sitting neutral, you got to stick with what we would say is the trend. And right now, we're in a process of setting lower highs and lower lows, which makes this a bear trend. And the trend is your friend until it ends. So for right now, when you're leaning towards, should I be longing or shorting? You're probably leaning a little bit closer to a short position on the longer term basis for Bitcoin based off what we're seeing here on the longer term charts. As we said, we're going to take a look at Solana. Now, Solana, remember I told you guys the other day, let's turn off Lux Algo for a second. I told you guys that even if Solana bounced, keep an eye on this zone right in here that used to be a level of somewhat support. Well, it looks like we're turning that zone back into resistance, just as I said potentially that we would. If we go to lower time frames like the 4-hour chart, you'll even see we have now flashed sell, and we have take profits more than likely calling for us to get back down to this bottom level where we've been more recently around 128. Of course, we had a wick that went all the way to 120 as we predicted a while ago, but it looks like we could be revisiting those levels once again. If Bitcoin goes down, you're going to see the alts go down as well. That's just what we have going on. Cardano, on the other hand, though, we talked about Solana, we talked about both these coins possibly making a bounce back up to this level of former support. Cardano couldn't even get back there. Right, Cardano came back up to about 51 cents. This is a sign of weakness for Cardano. Not trying to FUD people out of the long-term hold here. Just so you guys know, I have a big bag of Cardano, but the charts at the moment are not the most bullish we've ever seen. I do expect Cardano to be another coin as well that starts to take a little more of a tumble. This one is saying we have a nice order block with take profit back at those same levels we were at the other day, around 43. But there is a chance you drop even lower, back down to that 40-cent level. So again, more negativity coming in. I will say here on the 4-hour chart, keep an eye on the fact that we are sitting currently on a yellow breaker block, which is a support beam right there. So we could see before a bigger fall, because everything is correcting and going up right now, we could see Cardano potentially come back up, hit this pink breaker block, and then make that move down as we just talked about. But as a whole, again, if I'm talking about the next couple of days, am I leaning more towards a long position or a short position on these altcoins? I'm leaning more towards a short. Before we move into the stories, we have a lot to go into there, and we'll have more time at the end with Q&A to do more TA. I'm kind of giving you guys brief update on what's happening, but I have promised now for a while that we would take a look at the render chart, and I will make sure to get that in here, and then we'll jump into some stories. Let me turn off Lux Algo. Let's just observe the chart here for a little bit. More recently here on render, we had come back down. We had lots of different levels of trend lines we've been drawing for a while now, kind of looking at support and resistance. We broke through this yellow dotted line way back here in February on the 17th. And even though we have some wicks below, that level does seem to be a strong support at the moment. So what we're kind of watching for is the bears, if they can pick up some steam and close a daily candle below this yellow trend, that's going to kind of, shut the door is kind of the wrong expression, but kind of confirm that the bears are fully in control. Of course, we hit our high way back here, March 16th, 17th area, and we're just setting these lower highs, lower lows ever since then. Let's see what Lux is saying. Just like the others, we still have sell orders down here. We have not hit this order block coming in down towards 582. I think that's an interesting level to keep an eye on. Definitely in the short term. 4-hour, I'm assuming, just like everything else. Actually 4 hours printing most recent print was a buy, and we're finding some support on our smart trail concept, but keep an eye on that breaker block. Again, this is a newer thing. You guys might be tuning in and saying, what the heck are these pink and yellow lines on Tim's charts? These are breaker blocks where I can turn them off and explain them to you. If I were to show breakers right there, boom. These were former Go away for me. There we go. These were former order blocks that instead of filling them completely and finding support on them, which often happens, the price just sliced right through them, meaning even though we went through there actually is still a lot of orders in that zone. So when we turn that back on, there we go. You're going to see this as a very good, when it's pink, resistance level when it's yellow, good support level. Well, that's what we're kind of watching play out right now as we're bouncing back. Are we going to set that lower high here on render somewhere in the right below $9 range, and then further, move further to the downside? We'll have to see, though, because, again, there is some strong support coming in here with a smart trail. If that's lost, though, a move down here back to 727 level we were at just a couple of days ago would make a lot of sense for render. Long term, though, guys, render is still one of my tokens. I'm doing some shorter term TA for you, just so you know what's happening probably in the next couple of days. Render is still one that I believe has a long way to go to the upside. I will do a price prediction on it in the next couple of weeks, so stick around. I've made some now on a couple of more, higher level coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum. I did Polkadot here yesterday. Go check those out. We also had one on Jupiter, one of the smaller ones. There's no really rhyme or rhythm as to when I'm doing the price predictions. I'm going to try to get as many out as possible. So make sure you guys comment every single day what price predictions you guys want, because that'll play a role into what I choose. But that's what we got right now for the TA. KV, I hope you liked that TA. T-Shroom, it is time to get into the news. We got a lot hitting here. Everybody else, go ahead and smash that like button if you're enjoying the show so far. If you are, it's not a great day for crypto. A lot of people's portfolios are probably down. But if you enjoyed the show, you can still smash like and hit subscribe. T-Shroom, what do we got in the way of news?
Well, before we get into the news, I need to see these likes a little higher, bros. So go ahead and jump on in. You're filling out a spreadsheet for work. You're digging a hole, maybe literally, maybe metaphorically, unfortunately. Maybe you're climbing a tree. You're up in a tree, cutting down limbs. First of all, ballsy, and props to you for doing something like that. Maybe you're sitting there and you're day trading. That is more than likely, probably what you're doing if you're listening to the sultry sound of my voice. But regardless, take a moment, unless you're literally sawing a limb off right now or operating a motor vehicle, go ahead and smash that like button. It would really help us out here. And we love to help you all out. We love to help out the bros, bring filtered information to you all that's just going to affect your portfolio. And all we ask in return is the like button to be smashed. And it looks like you all are doing that. So very, very, very big thanks to you all. Well, Wormhole is taking the cake when it comes to the crypto bubbles today. So let's see what's going on over there. It looks like it's a lot of partnership announcements. Wormhole's W token is now natively multi-chain using the Wormhole native token transfers framework. So this framework has come out recently, and now it's formatted for Solana, Ethereum, Arbitrum, Optimism, and build on Base. So very, very good there from Wormhole. Seeing some just organic growth and rollout of new products and services. Does that mean that this is going to be the next top 10 coin? I highly doubt it. It still has a lot more to prove. You do have another, this is the partnership little emoji. If you see that emoji, whoop, you know that you've got a partnership on your hands. Mezzo and Wormhole. So if that means anything to you, I think from an interoperability standpoint, that would probably have some significance. And then go ahead there, Tim.
Wormhole, just because you're asking a question, like you would get to top 10. Top 10 is a far stretch. I think this is a token that could get to top 30. Currently in strength number 76 with a $1.1 billion market cap. This is one, though, that I don't have it up right now. I have for all of our trading VIPs, I have a running list of price predictions. So you guys don't even have to wait for the videos. You guys, whenever I make my price predictions, I put them in there. But I also have an algorithm based off of previous bull markets that's pretty consistent based off the last two, of where you're ranked and what dominance you'll have of total market cap. So I have all that broken down. And a top 30, I can't remember. I want to say, though, a top 30 is going to give you a market cap somewhere in the realm of maybe it was like 40 or 50 billion. But I have to go back and look. But let's just pretend we get that. That's Wormhole can make a lot of money. It doesn't need to get into the top 10 to be a massive gainer. If we see Wormhole go top 30, which I think is potentially doable with what it does, getting things back and forth. Obviously it was built on Solana, but it's going to be able to communicate. It's a cross chain communicator. It's going to be able to communicate things back and forth.
Interoperable.
That is something. Interoperability. It's one, but it has limitations with interoperability. Obviously, it's not like Polkadot or Atom necessarily, but it's still a top 30 potential, especially as long as Solana continues to be, a top 5 altcoin. If Solana runs into problems, Wormhole has issues. But if Solana stays top 5, which a lot of us think it will throughout the most of this bull market, Wormhole probably should become a top 30 coin. And in that case, we're probably talking about at least 20, if not closer to 30 X's in the works.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then there was one more update just an hour ago from Twitter on Wormhole. Bitcoin is getting a programmable economic layer, and Wormhole is your primary gateway to it, building on Wormhole's multi-chain platform, Meso network, with the connectivity of 30 chains after going live with 1 day. So looks like some action with Bitcoin as well, which is, in the crypto space, it's hard to go wrong if you're able to associate yourselves with the king of crypto. Why are we covering this? Really no other reason than the fact that it's up 20%, right? It's the leading lady here of the crypto bubble's top 100. So already in the top 100, Wormhole does not have a place in my portfolio just yet. Am I regretting that? No, because I don't trade or invest on emotion, and regret is an emotion. I guess it's not completely true, because I do get excited. Excitement's an emotion, right?
It is.
But you got to be careful. Anything approaching fear or greed is the emotions you want to avoid and parse out of your approach to investing, and especially to trading. The lower the time scale that you're operating on, the more risk there is, because your emotions are going to get more and more involved. Speaking of which, some of you all may have had a loss. Many of you had a big gain if you timed it right. And that's after this story that we were covering intensely yesterday. And now it seems we've gotten to the bottom of it. BlackRock has no commercial relationship with Hedera. HBAR sinks 32%. But is it that simple? No. We went super in depth on this one yesterday with Caleb Branson. If you want to learn more about it, definitely just go watch that. I broke it down. I spent about an hour and a half trying to get to the bottom of what the heck was going on. But the important thing is whether or not ARCX was a client of BlackRock. And that part is true, right? But this is also true, is that BlackRock has no commercial relationship with Hedera, nor has BlackRock selected Hedera to tokenize any of BlackRock's funds. So why then is this tweet still true? Because this tweet is true, the one from HBAR Foundation. It's not false, right? It's just that it was ARCX that was the one that made the decision, right? So the BlackRock Treasury MMF is tokenized on Hedera. It's just not BlackRock's decision to do so. BlackRock is using ARCX just as I would use a vendor on the street to procure a hot dog. BlackRock is using ARCX as a vendor, as a contractor, to tokenize the MMF, right? And so that's the way this is going. It's not BlackRock investing in ARCX. It's ARCX going out to just the general retail and institutional investment class and saying, hey, come invest with us. Come invest with us in our MMF, a tokenization of treasuries, right? So that's what it is, and it's on Hedera. So if you're confused by that, that's okay. You don't need to know the intricacies of what I just explained to be able to invest successfully in crypto. The answer is simple: just buy Bitcoin, right? So the future of Hedera is a little more uncertain here, as a lot of the crypto community feels burned by Hedera. I personally don't feel burned at all by Hedera specifically at all. I think ARCX probably is the one who did the majority of the miscommunication to Hedera, to HBAR Foundation, and BlackRock. I think they probably misunderstood a lot of how important some of this dynamic was. But it's in the past. BlackRock has issued the statement it issued, and that was what we were waiting for. And ultimately, it kind of qualifies that, Tim, you put it pretty well. It's kind of the middle of all worlds here. It's not bullish. It's not bearish.
It pretty much just like if 2 days ago you were more bullish on HBAR and then yesterday you were bearish on HBAR, both of those are canceled out. We're right back to where we probably felt about it 3 days ago. Right. Is HBAR an okay product? Yes, it is. Is it going to skyrocket in the top 10? Probably not. Is it going to fall out of the top 30? Probably not. It's going to probably be what we thought it was a couple of days ago. I think, again, my only thought here, and I don't know if it was in that article you read here. I just want to say this. I'm not trying to FUD HBAR. I'm not pronouncing its doom, but the CEO of whatever the company was, the middleman company, ARCX, he said in his quote, he said, We looked at the post and thought it was mostly true, so we approved it. He didn't say we thought it was true, or he said, yeah, it was good, we didn't see anything wrong. He said, we thought it was mostly true, so we approved it. Meaning the people that hit send on that understood it was going to be misinterpreted. I don't love that, but I'm not going to say because of that H-bar is going to crash and burn and die and is not worth investing in. It's just, again, I have to, the reason I'm this way is because on this show 2 days ago, when we thought that there was a really good organic relationship between BlackRock and H-bar, I said I think that H-bar just moved up the rankings in my book, right? So I got duped. I was more bullish on H-bar, and so that's why I have to be so strict about pulling that back and saying like, hey, this is worrisome to me because they somewhat knowingly lied. That being said, I'm back to neutral. I'm not fudding it. I'm not saying sell all your H-bar because it sucks. I'm saying if you bought some thinking, man, we're about to skyrocket in the top 10, you're going to be a little bit disappointed come 12 to 18 months from now.
Yeah, and Tim, the market is illustrating exactly what you just said really well, right? This is the current live price of H-bar, and this is when all the craziness occurred. We got up to 100% move higher in 24 hours, and now there's been a sell-off wick to wick of about 40%, right? But I will say that the market has retained H-bar has retained a decent amount of that rotation, of that new allocation into the coin. But it's exactly what you just said, Tim. It's like, it definitely got a higher high, and we're not seeing a lower low, but we're also not seeing like where it settles to be higher than these previous highs. So it's settling below those previous highs, but it hasn't even wicked down to the lows down here at 6 cents, 8. So look, H-bar is not something we talk about a ton here on the Investing Bros. I think that I am personally pretty bullish on it. I don't own any. I did go ahead and rotate out of H-bar, but I only rotated out because I had the opportunity to buy Caspa really low at like 8 cents. So I took that opportunity. I would just swap one coin for the other. But H-bar overall, I think there's a lot to say about it that is pretty bullish. I think this event is overall a net bullish event, but it's just from a communication standpoint, they have completely butchered it. And it requires someone like me, who I consider myself pretty crypto educated, about an hour and a half to really understand what the heck was going on.
I think we kind of wrap the book on this topic. Just so you guys know, months ago we made a beginner friendly, is this coin worth investing in? Not. H-bar made it into that list. I'm not going to take it off that list. I'm not going to say it's not worth investing in. So anyone who's wondering how the bros feel about H-bar, we remain confident it is a decent investment. Is it going to be your biggest gainer? Probably not. But is it going to make you money? Yes, it will.
Yeah.
We got a super chat here, T-Shroom, and we had an interesting chat. But it's Crypto Seth donated saying, appreciate you guys tuning in. Keep it up, boys. Shout out to Crypto Seth. Again, we're going to get him on here soon. I don't know if we've picked a day yet, but we're going to get that done here soon. Dave Digital. I haven't seen your name in here in a minute, Dave Digital. Maybe I just haven't paid attention. But he said, whoever duped Tim, cash me outside. How about that? So thank you for the defense, Dave Digital. Very glad to see you in here. Got a new poll in here. Overall sentiment of H-bar. Okay. I'm going to vote on this. I love it. Hodl gang. I feel slighted, sold yesterday. Meh. It is what it is. I'm going to go meh. That's my public vote. Meh. But you guys vote however you feel.
Yeah. For me, it's like it's just almost like you can't escape this combo, right? I think for H-bar, I was bullish on it, and I only sold it because I wanted to rotate into Caspa, and I didn't have any other dry powder at the time. Do I regret that? I kind of don't regret it because I was able to get so much Caspa that I really wanted. But what I'll say, one of the main reasons that am bullish on Hedera, and if you're a hodler, why I would argue you probably shouldn't sell, is because of this. So this their Hedera Council, right? And if you look at some of the names that are on here, and they have some open slots too, but they've restricted it to like 39 names. And some of the names are Dell, T-Mobile, Google, maybe you've heard of them, LG, and then also Boeing is on there, I believe. Yeah, Boeing, Hitachi, IBM. So these are not small names at all, right? And it's like, does that mean that unequivocally H-bar is going to the moon? No. Ubisoft is another name I see. Just because they're associated with big names doesn't mean that they're going to know that their business model is profitable, right? That does not equal one there. However, you have some big names like that, that is good. That is bullish, and that is pretty much the sole reason why I like Hedera. The other reason too is it's a hash graph. It's not a blockchain, right? So obviously blockchain is dope. I love it, but hash graph is kind of a competitor to that, and it some would say it's superior. It's innovative, and it is. All right, I've got a commercial here, Tim, and I've had this on my screen as one of the tabs for a couple days now. Or I guess one day because the video's only been posted. But let's take a look at this video. In fact, let's take a listen.
How may I direct your call?
Hi, I'd like to order a pizza. Please hold.
Order, please.
Could I get a large
Pepperoni pizza for delivery?
Request submitted. Please hold. Request approved.
So great.
This commercial isn't about pizza, it's about money. Because this is pretty much how it works every time you spend it or send it. We deserve a better system. Fewer middlemen, fewer fees. That's how crypto works.
Pretty sick. I think I've got to buy some Bitcoin after watching that.
I mean, the commercial was great. Coinbase takes fees.
They do.
Every time you turn your fiat into crypto and vice versa, there's fees, so they're still biting the pizza. I still prefer it to the normal banking system, but I think it's funny that the whole thing was like, oh, they keep taking fees and biting your pizza. We will too, but go ahead and use crypto. It's the overall sentiment of that commercial right there. It was cool though. It kept me entertained. I like it.
Good.
Coinbase put out some bangers.
Well, and that's why I played it, Tim, because I feel like you may have not been as entertained as you could be, and I wanted to entertain you more. But yeah, I mean, my overall take is, then to be honest with you, Tim, that was one of the first thoughts that I had after watching this was like, well, but it wasn't so much, well, Coinbase, you take a fee. It was more like, and the fee that Coinbase takes is a vast reduction and simplification of the existing TradFi system.
Yeah.
So
I mean, but if we think like, let's say we get to a place where you can get like a Coinbase credit card, and we have everything. Like, remember what Strike was doing there with what's his face from 2 years ago, Jack Mallard, right?
Jack Mallard.
Jack Mallard. He made this huge deal about you can go in with this app and you can pay in crypto, yada yada yada. And it did transact everything faster, but if you don't think that you were still paying these little fees and you're paying taxes, and like the concept of that commercial I walked away with is like every time you're going to buy something, it's like you're going to pay taxes on when you make money, and you're going to pay taxes on when you spend money, and you're going to pay fees to transact your money, and you're going to pay fees to put your money into a bank, and you're pay fees to get. It's just like you pay fees no matter what. And it's like crypto is awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love the concept of crypto. But the system that takes your money as you go in and out is going to stay in place. Mm-hmm. What makes crypto better is that you can hold it and you can transact it in a decentralized. First of all, it's decentralized itself, and you can hold it in a decentralized way. And that's not necessarily Coinbase. That's actually via cold wallets. Which, speaking of cold wallets, is actually a weird transition. You guys, we actually have a new partnership with Arculus.
That's right.
So speaking of, if you guys are sitting here saying, man, I do want to hold my money in a way that the government can't come after it, go get an Arculus wallet. I have one right here. It's really, really simple. I open it up here. I had it open the other day. Actually, look at that packaging. Look at this t-shirt. Look how it comes. So you pull this little thing right here, and then you get this little card, and you can connect it with your phone. There's nothing on this that says anything about my information. So yeah, get a little Arculus code. This is the easiest cold wallet to get in and out of semi quickly. I mean, everything you have to have your seed phrase and everything, but compared to others is amazing. There are no backdoor deals when it comes to Arculus, by the way, everybody. If you guys have a ledger and you have been worried in more recent days about those backdoor situations that they have where they can come in and steal your information, Arculus, the way they built it, it's not even possible for that to happen. So if you are serious about your cold wallet, if you're serious about having your own money banked yourself, you got to have a cold wallet, and there's none better than Arculus. And when you sign up with our link down below, use our code BROZ10, you get this wallet 10% off with our link only. So go check that out if you're serious. And I'm going to transition this into a story, T-Shroom. I don't know if it was next on your list, but as we're talking about cold wallet and preparing and keeping your own money, another big story coming out over the last 24 hours, which we don't want to dispel the FUD because I don't think it's going to happen, but our fearless leader, Joe Biden here in the U.S., has proposed a tax plan for not only raising capital gains to 44%, and I'm assuming that's short term, but still 44% capital gains. He's also suggesting a 25% unrealized gains tax. Now, I think most people know what that is, but in case there's one person of the well over 200 people in here, if there's one person who doesn't know, that means let's say you buy Bitcoin today, but you hold that Bitcoin for multiple, like every year you just hold it. You're not selling it whatsoever. You don't own any capital gains until you sell it and take profit. So if I sell it 1 year from now, I think the capital gains is something around 15% based off of what state you're in. Whatever profit I make on that Bitcoin, I pay 15% of that in taxes. That's just how taxes work. But if I don't sell it, I don't owe any taxes on that. What Joe is saying is a year from now, whatever profits you get in Bitcoin, even though you didn't sell it, even though you're not going to use it, let's say you gained $100,000 in profits on your Bitcoin purchase today, you're going to have to pay $25,000 to the government just because. I don't know if I need to go too much further as to why that's very dangerous and terrible for the economy, but just so you know, if your Bitcoin was sitting in this cold wallet on Arculus, they cannot you cannot tax you on that one. They don't know. Right. They don't know what you got.
And just to be clear, that's only if Congress and the Senate and the executive branch were to pass taxes, capital gains on unrealized gains. Mm-hmm. So a capital gains tax on unrealized, which realized just means you sold. So you realize the gain, you can go buy a house, you can go buy a boat, you can pay for your kids' private school, whatever it is. If you just bought Bitcoin and you haven't sold, that is an unrealized gain. And there have been proponents in Europe and the United States on kind of the Democrat side for America that have been like, hey, unrealized tax would actually be good for the government. We could have more money to spend on education. Think of the kids. The education system's broken. Oh, we need all this money from you guys. All the traders in Wall Street, they're all rich anyway. We should take their unrealized gains. And so, but it's a good point, Tim. It's a really good point. If you've got it on a cold wallet, it's going to be very difficult for
and
the government.
I want to make sure, again, if you have it on a cold wallet that the government doesn't have a backdoor access to, right? So I'm not saying for sure it happened, but theoretically speaking, if the government really went after, let's say you have a Ledger wallet, and technically, just so you guys know, I have a Ledger wallet. I don't have any crypto on it anymore, but I have one. If I have a Ledger wallet and the government really wants to find out what I have in there, they have a way via Ledger to go in and take a look at my cold wallet and then even confiscate and take that money away from me. They have that possibility.
Allegedly.
Arculus does not. No, that's fact.
Allegedly.
They do. They confirm that they do. I don't know. We don't need to use alleged there. They're not too shy about it. Arculus does not have that built in. I mean, we had a good meeting with the CEO of Arculus. By the way, he's the guy. He's the guy that. Oh, I'm going to get away with this one. I'm going to cover anything that's on here. The chips on your credit cards. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
The same guy that developed those, that created those, is the guy that created Arculus.
Tim, whenever you hold up that Arculus wallet, I get the same feeling as when I'm looking like over the side of the Eiffel Tower or like high point. Like I'm just like, why? Let me know in the chat. Do you get the same feeling? Maybe I'm the only one.
Yeah. So my whole point here, let's kind of back it up here. It's not going to pass. At least we don't believe it's going to pass. They've actually tried to do unrealized tax things before when it comes to capital gains tax. It'll probably be voted down. Why? Because the people voting on it have way too much money that would get taxed if they got taxed on unrealized gains. That's a completely different conversation. But just the concept that it's coming back up and it's being proposed by our president is scary enough to make you say, you know what? I've got to find the best path out of fiat currency into cryptocurrency and doing it in a way that is decentralized and safe. So where I bank myself, and ultimately, I don't think I need to say this. I think everyone's giving up hope and giving up faith in how the government operates, especially when it comes to money. Go ahead, crypto is the way, but as long as you keep your money in a Coinbase or you keep your money in anything, I mean, you keep it in Robinhood or Kraken or you name it, it's technically not your crypto. You might have keys that give you access to it, but it's not yours. When it gets into this cold wallet, though, that's when it is officially your crypto and nobody else's crypto. Go check out Arculus if you do not have one today. Again, 10% off with the code BROZ10.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And if you don't have a cold wallet at all, this is a great option to store your crypto safely and on chain. So very cool. Let's get into some of these other stories here. We'll go fast mode here. Franklin Templeton upgrades $380 million tokenized treasury fund to enable peer-to-peer transfers. It's going to be the Benji token. I think we've reported on this before. So this is probably the next step in this process for them. But Franklin Templeton, look, if I had to go TradFi, and I think Franklin Templeton might be who I go with, because they're a little bit of the smaller name in the space that they operate, but it just seems like they're so cutting edge when it comes to crypto. They're all in. They were at I think it was Consensus, the one in Austin. They had a booth, and it's like they're just so ahead of the curve. Anyway, speaking of Consensus, a different company, not the event, not Consensus at Coinbase, but Consensus. Anyway, sues the SEC over unlawful seizure of authority over Ethereum. Now, this one gets a little bit dense and swampy, so we'll just get the quick facts here, but you're not going to get like the full analysis. The company wants a federal court to declare that ETH is not a security. Any investigation of Consensus based on the idea that ETH is a security would violate the company's Fifth Amendment rights and the Administrative Procedures Act, that MetaMask is not a broker under federal law, that MetaMask's staking services does not violate securities law, and an injunction against the SEC investigating or bringing an enforcement action tied to MetaMask swaps or staking functions. So Consensus, MetaMask, obviously kind of coming in here together and trying to make something happen for the crypto space. This would be very big. Do you think this would be bigger than the Ripple Labs VSEC, or do you think this is kind of on par, or do you think it's bigger? Because they're going to the Fifth Amendment route here with the freedom of speech. Yeah. It's very interesting.
It's a continuation of how big the Ripple one is, I would say. And here's where it's coming. I actually did not know that someone had already sued. Like, when we put the title in today about, the SEC denying Ethereum ETF, or that's the assumption, right? So they haven't technically done it yet, but everyone is expecting, I guess, based off of recent meetings, that the SEC is going to deny Ethereum ETF. The only precedent they can really use is if it's a security. Ultimately, what I put in the title when I said lawsuits coming, I didn't know that there was already one filed. I was just preparing for a repeat of what happened the first time that they denied the Grayscale ETF. You guys remember the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF was denied at first, that went to court, and a judge literally said, you have to reconsider this. Your grounds were not good enough. That wasn't a good move. You pair all this with the fact that we are days away past a situation where lawyers from the SEC literally resigned in disgrace. We did find that out. They actually were pretty much borderline fired because a judge told them that they had been operating, and they're talking about these lawyers and the SEC, in an abuse of power situation. They were making up details. Effectively, they were committing fraud in some of their cases against the crypto space. So we're seeing judges go heavily against the SEC. We've seen the SEC lose case after case after case, making up BS arguments to try to prevent the furthering of cryptocurrency. So if they come out and they say, yeah, we're not going to approve the Ethereum ETF because it's a security, they're going to get lawsuits from a lot of different places. And remember, again, back when we were focusing on the KuCoin story from a couple of weeks ago, in the KuCoin lawsuit where the DOJ was going after KuCoin, the CFTC, right? I'm saying that right. The CFTC.
Yep.
Yeah, they went after, in their article, they discussed how Ethereum was a commodity. So not only will the SEC have lawsuits from crypto companies to deal with, they're also going to have the CFTC fighting them for jurisdiction, and the CFTC is going to have a much better case in getting to regulate Ethereum than the SEC will. So this whole story still spells that the Ethereum ETF is eventually coming one way or another. As you can also see, we looked at this earlier in the video. Ethereum's price has not reacted negatively to this at all. In fact, it's, just like everything else, had a little bit of a dip today and then bounced. So this news was not catastrophic to the price of Ethereum. What does that mean? T-Shroom kind of hinted at it earlier, but if you weren't here for the beginning of the video, when people are scared that a bad thing's about to happen, they don't wait for the bad thing to happen. They go ahead and sell. But when they call BS on those bad things, if there's bad news and the price does not sell off, that means nobody believes it's actually going to happen. So this is showing you Ethereum holders and investors are extremely confident that the SEC will eventually lose. An Ethereum ETF will happen. This is not bearish for price. And that's how you guys should walk away. If you read that article today, if you saw that the SEC is going to deny the Ethereum ETF, and you were wondering if that was bad news, the markets are screaming no. The lawsuits are screaming no. It is just a matter of time. Nothing really changed based off the new information here.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good summation there, Tim. Well, I said First Amendment. I said Fifth Amendment because I was surprised to see that they're taking like a constitutional route here. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because it's a lawsuit of high order here, but they're going through the Fifth Amendment rights. And the Fifth Amendment protects individuals from being tried twice for the same crime and protects them from having to testify against themselves. I said First Amendment. First Amendment is the freedom of speech here in the United States. You may be listening from a country that doesn't enjoy that, but this is the Fifth Amendment, which is a totally different one, and it's this. So just wanted to clear that up because we try to get everything right we can here. But that'll be an interesting lawsuit. Definitely will be very interesting to see, and I think it's going to be important for sure. Another thing that's important here is the GDP, which we got the print this morning. The U.S. government preliminary. There's a diapers commercial. They saw Brody. The U.S. government preliminary report for first quarter GDP showed growth of just 1.6%, substantially lower than the 2.5% analysts estimated and down from 3.4% in the fourth quarter of 2023. Meanwhile, the GDP price index came in slightly hotter than expected at 3.1%, up from 1.6% in the previous quarter. And then here you can see it illustrated on tradingeconomics.com, printed earlier this morning. So the market has pretty much reacted to it. Tim showed the S&P reaction. I might show the S&P myself. But as you can see here, consensus, the economists were thinking 2.5 and the previous was 3.4. Forecasted, basically the same thing as the consensus, came in way under, big disappointment there. I'm wondering, I've got H-bar pulled up, but I'm wondering if we look at the S&P, what's nice is that what's really surprising is that we got all the way back down to almost the mid-level here of the platinum pocket, all the way back down. This is the S&P minis to 5,201, right? I'm surprised that we were able to jet all the way back up, even on a day where we got that negative GDP print, right? So I'm thinking, the market kind of doesn't care about GDP here. They're much more concerned about inflation dynamics, which seem to be stabilized for the most part. They're much more concerned with, the earnings from corporations. They're less concerned with GDP, I think, is ultimately what we're seeing here. But this could be a case of a head fake where the banks say, let's take 24, even 74 hours, and let's wait and sell in a couple of days, right? So we don't spook the market. So we could see, and we've seen that after a lot of Fed decisions where there'll be like no action or it'll be an up day and it doesn't make any sense. And then the market will react appropriately days later. But I think this is definitely an underwhelming GDP print. And Tim, I'd like to get your thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not what everyone wanted to be. The fact that it's still not negative, though, is going to be possibly part of the reason why we're not crashing. If we were closer to zero, definitely if we were negative, we'd probably have a bigger crash coming. But, this, again, it's one of those things that you can say that news coming in lower than it should have been bearish. But you can't argue with what you're seeing in the markets. The markets tell a story. Now, the only thing you could see potentially, Tisha, if you go to my screen here, maybe you see, and I haven't seen this. I don't track the S&P as much as I track crypto. We've had times in the past where something will happen in the crypto landscape that's like, man, that should have been bearish, but things start to bounce to the upside. Well, only to see like the next day or next 2 days it goes to the downside. Is S&P going to do that? I don't know. I'm not predicting it will. And like I said, I think the S&P is a lot more likely to move the way the market really wants to go based off this news. So the fact that we're seeing positivity here, we had a big gap that we opened up the day off that bad news below where we were yesterday, but we're kind of working right now, and we've already pretty much cleared that gap. We've already cleaned it up, and so this spells overwhelmingly not necessarily crazy bullish stuff for the S&P 500, but maybe a kind of a balancing out effect where it's like, all right, maybe not ready to go back and break 525 again and hit new highs, but we aren't necessarily breaking new lows here on the cycle either. We're steadying out. We're finding a nice little floor temporarily for the S&P 500, which should trickle into being more positive overall for the other assets as well. I did show you guys earlier, a lot of altcoins are looking like they want to continue to bleed just a little more. Bitcoin itself, I put a tweet out earlier today. We are getting a relief bounce, but Bitcoin is showing signs it wants to potentially come back and touch 60,000 again. As a whole, what I'm kind of looking at for crypto, I can go back to my Bitcoin chart here, T-Shim. You can show my screen. I'm kind of looking at Bitcoin and the rest of crypto. I showed you guys on the other altcoins earlier, but I think that what we're seeing here is a revisit. We're going to come down and double bottom at some of these lower levels we had back here on April 17th. Now, could altcoins and everything go lower? Could Bitcoin go lower? Absolutely. But that's not a crazy thing to come back down and retest and double bottom right there. That's probably the next level we're really looking at here. This is the 4-hour chart on Bitcoin. Like I said, yeah, we're having a bounce right here, but take a look. We're under that pink breaker block right there, which does spell bearishness. You have one there on the 4-hour. You have one on the 1-hour on Bitcoin as well, I do believe. Let's wait for it. Yeah, that one. Both of them coming in just above 65,000, give or take. So could we make a bounce back up to 65,000? Yeah, we could. We absolutely could. But that pink is symbolizing that would mean this is simply a level to sell, where a lot of the pressure – the pricing is probably going to want to sell off Bitcoin back at this level, and then price goes lower. Potentially, is that what we see the S&P 500 do as well? It's too early to tell for now. Oh, look at that. I mean, I didn't put on Luxago afterwards, but that is what we have here. We have two pretty good-sized breaker blocks for the S&P 500. So maybe that's what we're watching here, T-Shroom. This was bad news, but traders are taking advantage of maybe one good pump sell-off on these levels they missed out on here a couple of days ago, and then the S&P takes a little more of a cool-off. That potentially is in the cards.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look back at the S&P on a longer term view, you know, it's just been on an absolute tear ever since the recovery from the pandemic. I mean, it's unbelievable. The boomers win again. I've got the Dixie pulled up here as well. You can see the Dixie. You know, we thought that throughout this portion here of the Dixie back in early March, and we thought that this thing was going back down to 100. And it didn't. It found a bunch of support right here at 102, pushed higher, and it bounced off the midline of the Bollinger Band on the daily, came back up, and now is looking like it may find support yet again on the midline of the Bollinger Band. So this is not what we want to see as hodlers of currencies alternative to the dollar, right? This is the opposite of what we want to see. We want the Dixie to go down. Now this has a lot to do with the euro and the parity with the dollar. Which may play less into Bitcoin as we move into the bull market, but ultimately, you know, the Dixie isn't doing us any favors by pushing up past these, you know, 105, 106, and now tickling 107 levels. So we've looked at the S&P, we've looked at the Dixie. Man, we're getting traditional today. We got to love it. We got a couple more stories here. Here's an exciting and fun one, Tim. Are you ready? We'll get to the exciting and fun story here on the other side of the factoid of the day. Brought to you by iTrust Capital. We trust, iTrust, and so should you. But Tim, they're reporting earnings today. Who is the CEO of Google? Is it Vladimir Tenov? Is it Bob Evans? Is it Sundar Pichai? Or is it Daniel Ek?
C. Sundar Pichai.
He's going C. Very, very quick, very confident. Do you just know this one, Tim, or did you parse it out?
I don't know if I would bet my life on it, but I'm pretty sure it's C. I'm pretty sure I've heard his name referenced as the Google CEO.
It's Sundar Pichai. Tim, you got it there quickly. Let me know in the chat. Did you know the answer to that one? Because I would reckon that a lot of people don't. And I was hoping that you would get that wrong so that I could illustrate the point that you definitely know the CEO of Facebook, Meta. Who is it?
Zuck.
The Zuck. You can't buck the Zuck. Old Mark Zuckerberg. You definitely know the CEO of Tesla. Who is it?
Old Musk.
And you definitely know the CEO of a lot of really big, tech companies. One of the largest in the world, Google. A lot of people would be pressed on the street. They wouldn't know Sundar Pichai as easily as they would know somebody like Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. And putting on my tinfoil hat a little bit, who controls information online? Google. Maybe he doesn't, and they don't want you to know who the CEO of Google is. I don't know. Let me know. What do you think in the chat? What do you think in the comments? I think that I'm ready to get into this fun story here.
Okay.
Bitcoin, epic sat from the halving sells for $2.1 million. Now, I covered this morning that the notebook from the Janet Yellen speech, it sold for $1 million. I don't know if you saw that auction conclusion. Sold for $1 million. This is double that, and this is the epic sat. The auction, I've got it pulled up here. You can see. It's just under 2, so just under 2 million. Oh, wait, no, this is not. This is the SAT number or something like that. But it sold. Here you go. Here, the final bid, $33.3 billion, $2 million. What did I just say?
No.
33.3 Bitcoin.
Yeah,
something with
billion.
a B. Yeah. Something with
goodness.
a B. Bitcoin and billion may be synonymous one day. That might be interesting. But anyways, yeah, so very big, very bullish. Now, Tim, you might be sitting there like, but wait, T-Shroom, what is the SAT? What is it, the epic SAT? Well, the epic SAT, Tim, I'm glad you asked, is the first Satoshi mined on the Bitcoin blockchain after last week's halving event. Mined by Bitcoin mining pool via Bitcoin. Went up for auction and fetched a sizable 7-figure sum. So usually a SAT is worth what? Like $200, 200, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
2 million. So quite a valuable SAT.
Why? Yeah. Why did someone buy a SAT for $2 million? That's
because it's the epic SAT. It's basically an NFT, in my opinion.
But, yeah.
It's a moment of history. It's the first SAT. I sat there. If I had 2 million, I can't say that I wouldn't buy that because it's going to only go up in value.
I'm not paying $2 million for anything like that anyway. But if you told me that the first Satoshi ever created was sold for $2 million, I might be like, okay, that's cool. But we're just talking about the first one of the fourth halving in its history. Are we gonna have a new epic sat every single time? What's the epic sat from 2020 going for right now? Or can we go buy that one? That one should be more valuable than this one right now.
Yeah, I think there's only going to be, isn't there there's a limited amount of halvings, right? There's not.
No, I think it's just it's gonna keep having for a long time.
Yeah, until 2,145 or something like that. So it's not going to be more than 1,000 epic sats out there.
Not more than 1,000, but there's going to be a lot. I don't know. I put a 1 in chat if you would even consider paying $2 million for an epic sat of any kind. Even if it was the first sat ever created, would you ever buy that? I mean, I just don't. I don't know. What people do with their money is their own business. I think it's silly.
Tim, I have a couple of epic sats I'd like to sell you. They're not the epic sats, but
you're not going to get a lot for them.
Now, Tim, just a couple of weeks ago, as we close here, everybody was freaking out about the Middle East escalations. The market was selling off. It wasn't weeks ago. This was like last week, right? Last weekend or something like this.
The halving? Yeah.
No, when Iran was doing their thing. But anyway, Middle East escalation could trigger oil price shock that fuels inflation, warns the World Bank. So I'm caring less and less what the World Bank and the IMF say these days, but this is a valid concern. If oil prices do continue to move to the upside, that will affect inflation. That has a lot to do with the inflation reaching 9.1% back during the pandemic, is because oil got really expensive because the oil drillers stopped going to work because they were under What the heck? You can't leave your house. What's that called? A lock-in?
House arrest? I don't know.
No, there's a word for it that we all became very familiar with, and I can't remember the name of it now.
Quarantine. Quarantine, yeah.
Yeah, the oh so important quarantine. Anyway, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Tim, there's one last.
I will say my one point here is anytime the central bank of anything.
Well, it's not a central bank, but continue.
What was it? What was
World Bank. Yeah, I don't think it's a central, but not in the way that the Fed is a central bank, where the Bank
Anytime
of Japan.
a centralized bank tries to warn people of something, you take that information with a grain of salt. I'm not saying the oil won't go up. I'm just saying saying I'd want to see something else say oil is going to go up. I'm not trusting a bank's observation on that.
The World Bank is an international financial institution that provides loans and grants to the governments of low and middle income countries for the purpose of pursuing capital projects.
The last thing a bank wants to do is promote scared propaganda to make people run on banks. Like, this is the type of thing, high inflation, run on banks. Like, if people are really concerned about the future of the economy, they're gonna go get money out of their bank. A bank is the last source to be legitimate at giving you bad news like that. So again, I'm not saying oil won't go up, because their reasoning is there and it's logical, but it's like, what do they know that we don't know, that they're confident putting this story out, knowing that this is the type of stuff that makes people run on banks?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's definitely a good point. All right, bros. Well, we're wrapping up here. Make sure that you are smashing the like button. It really helps us out, and we just love it. We feel every time you smash the like button, we feel it. It feels really good.
Let's go ahead and do a little bit of Q&A to wrap out the show today. Let's get a poll while people are kind of doing this. Crux, if you have control over this, I think you do. Put a poll, and you choose the options. But how are people feeling sentiment wise? Right. So we're weeks past the halving event, or a week past halving event. We're weeks past the top of what is so far the bull market for Bitcoin. You know, people were so bullish. We're more in cloudiness right now. You're starting to see bears come out of the woodwork and predict that things are going to get really, really rough here in the next little bit. I see mixed results. I still see a lot of people in the space that seem to be very positive and very bullish. I feel like that's where I kind of am, even though I called a lot of the pullbacks we've had. But I do fear I'm seeing some people start to question if the bull market's still sustainable. So where are you guys sitting right now? Are you guys discouraged? Are you a little scared? It's okay. By the way, it's okay to be scared. Being scared makes you focus. And when you focus, you get the right information to make the right choices. But how are you guys feeling? What's your sentiment like right now in the space? We'll read some of those answers if you guys want to comment those below, and we'll also answer some questions. What do you guys want to talk about now? What do you want to ask? I saw earlier Crypto Seth asked about what our thoughts on the opinions on tax increase. We referenced that a little earlier in the show, Crypto Seth. Ultimately, my opinion was it's not going to happen. So it's more of a nothing burger story. Ultimately, though, it is something that should make people run even further into the arms of decentralized currency like crypto, and getting their money off of centralized exchanges and putting them into cold wallets like Arculus. And again, for anyone who's new here, we have a link down below. It's a new partnership we have. Just so you guys also know, we are only partnering with companies and products that we actually want to use, invest in, or believe in. We're never going to just be like, oh, you want to give us a lot of money, so we'll talk about you on our stream. That's not how it works. We're sitting here saying, man, we want cold wallets. We want to protect. Arculus is the best one out there. We reached out to them for a relationship. They gave it to us. So we're very happy and thankful to Arculus for partnering with us and being one of the reasons why T. Schumer and I are going to continue to come on every single day, live on air, and give you guys the TA, give you guys the news. So if you want to protect your money and you want to support the bros, then it's the perfect deal to go and get an Arculus wallet, to get Lux Algo, to go sign up for Blofin. If you're going to trade, use our links, use our resources. We try to choose the best ones possible, and it helps keep the lights on here at the Investing Bros. So shout out to Arculus. Quant TA is a request from Big Red Ape. Okay.
And while
Good
he's
stuff.
pulling that up, did you guys see this? That the Cardano founder, Charles Hoskinson, labels USDC as an early CBDC. It's kind of crazy. What do you guys think of this, chat?
What he sees what? Oh, yeah, he's been saying that for a while.
Yeah.
He does not like USDC. We're taking a look here at Quant. Macro. I'm looking at the daily chart, by the way, here, guys. Kind of, more boring here. You just got to go ahead. I haven't done Quant TA in a while, but let's just go ahead and put a nice little box down here for support. I'm not saying we have to come back down here, but this little zone right here, if you can get back into this little yellow box down low, good little level to buy. Here more recently, we'll go a little bit higher and kind of give it a stretch here, but it looks like it's a good place to sell kind of in this range when you get back up over 150. We're sitting pretty much right there in the middle right now, around 110, almost to the middle. Like if I were to do this, for example, let's take a look at since January of 2023. You're going to see, we're technically above the point of control, which is actually kind of bullish here, but a lot of the volume kind of happening right in this area. Let's take a look at what Lux Algo is saying here and see what is up next. Daily chart. We are under a sell order now. We came down and wicked into the take profit, but this is kind of similar to what the daily chart for Bitcoin kind of looks like, where yes, we technically hit it, but there still is an order block right there. So we didn't really take out all the liquidity. That means there's a lot of people still wanting to purchase right there. What you're noticing is we wicked here yesterday, right back at our smart trail concept. I think there's a chance that you might even see it continue to rally back up towards 118, 120-ish area. But I think it's going to serve as resistance more than likely. I still think that we kind of make another visit down here to 86 into that yellow buy box for Quant if you're a big believer in it. Let's see what the oscillators are saying here. Bullish as a whole, but you are seeing the stochastics RSI telling us, all right, we're a little overextended now. Might be a time for a little bit of a cool off. Bullish MACD at the moment. RSI back approaching that 50, so you do want to keep an eye on that. And then our Lux Algo oscillator, it was a good long opportunity back here. This is the daily chart, but we did have the trifecta of our bullish reversal, our bullish momentum, and positive money flow. You would have entered a long here on the daily chart right here. Not quite at the bottom, but close to it. And you could have ridden that from about 100 up to, again, you take profit at the smart trail. So 118, not a bad little 18% trade right there. And if you leverage with Blofin, who knows where you go. But again, there's some signs here on the oscillators that this could be coming to a close. One of the ways to check that is to go look at the 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart is currently kind of mixed bag here, but is under a sell order. It's not a very strong sell order, and we are bouncing, but a lot of it's saying, like same thing. Could we bounce up here and hit 119, 120 with our reversal cloud? We could, but as a whole, a lot more of the targets are coming back down to the downside. So I'm going to sit here and say, Quant, if you want to scalp trade, you could look for lower time frames to get some longs in. But if you're sitting here saying, Tim, I choose one, long or short, and I walk away for a day or two, which one is a safer choice here? Probably a short. Does look like Quant, just like the rest of the crypto space, wants to cool off. And then if you're saying here, Tim, I don't care about trading, I just want to know when to buy again. Well, 87, 86 area. I think in the next, just put a limit order in right there, wherever you're buying it, walk away. I think there's a decent chance that limit order will be filled sooner rather than later.
Cool.
Let's see here. We got to pull. Where is he? What is the overall sentiment in the bull market? We're right where we need to be. I'm going to say, we're right where we need to be. That's my vote. That's the leading vote right at the moment. So again, our community, we got a positive community here in Investing Bros. Only 5% saying we should be much higher right now. Oh, well, that's a positive one. I guess only 18% saying we should be much lower right now. My head hurts says 32%. Yeah, that happens to us all sometimes. Yeah. ICP and Link is another request. You have a thought, T-shirt?
Yeah, while you're pulling those up, similar sentiment here from Crypto Rover saying 2024 Bitcoin having just passed, the coming weeks are most likely to be boring, in his words. But don't be fooled. The big bull market is about to start. And as you can see here, we are in that parabola, right? We're in that parabola. Where it stops, nobody knows. But we're certainly no longer in the bear market. So it's very nice to see. And sunny skies ahead.
I think he just watches the bros. We've been talking about boring sideways action now for a long time. He's stealing alpha.
I think a lot of big influencers tune into the bros for some alpha.
Should.
Not because they can't come up with it themselves. They just, they like to hang. They like to chill. We're
looking at ICP here, guys. And we'll be quick here. ICP, again, under a sell order currently. We have take profits down towards $9. This is a level I kind of referenced. I gave you guys a month ago or so. I said, look for a bounce around $11. Hit it perfectly. But I said, hey, if we lose momentum, look at 936. Even though we're still up here, we're seeing the daily chart start to say that's where we really should go. And I think, again, with there being bearish pressure in the space still, I think we do see that. Oscillators, again, we could still bounce a little bit more. We could come back up and hit this orange, and I still think this is in play. There's a lot of bearishness right there. Let's see 4 hour. Let's see what the next couple of days look like for ICP. Looks bullish right now on the 4 hour chart. I like how low stochastics is, how low RSI is. MACD looks like it's about to cross bullish. Luxago oscillator, we have a green momentum, green reversal dot. The money flow is still negative, but the minute, if you want to monitor for a good long over there on Blofin for ICP, watch this 4 hour chart. If you have Luxago, wait for that money flow to curve, turns at least sideways and start going up. You got yourself a good long opportunity there. And I would say, again, I'm going to be conservative here. You probably could wait for that to happen. You probably could ride ICP at least back up to 1490-ish. There's a chance if you want to be more aggressive, you could see, look at here, we have not only an order block at 16, but we have a breaker block way back up to 17. Remember I said we could potentially make a move back up to that gold band and still have some concerns. But I'm not going to wait for that one. I'm going to sit here and enter a long that I take profit probably around 1481. I like to be conservative. I like taking profits when I'm trading. It's my long-term holds. I have not taken profit in a while now. But that's what I'm seeing with ICP. And then someone said link. We'll just do the 4 hour link. Link under a short-term buy. We did hit the take profit. It's got itself its own little breaker block at 1716. Let's see what the oscillators are saying. Yeah, we're starting to curve. I like this. I love when stochastics RSI is low. That's a good sign. RSI kind of hovering right below the 50, but you could see a cross back up. Bullish momentum coming from MACD. I don't like this one as much where we had excessive buyers and we dipped, but we are seeing the momentum go back up. So can we recover with money flow? Maybe. Let's see if we can recover with some money flow and start going positive again. But I don't feel as confident about the Chainlink chart as I did ICP. ICP looks to be potentially ready for a decent little bounce. We'll talk more about that maybe tomorrow. And again, for all of our VIP traders, those of you guys who have bought Luxago, have shown me a receipt of you buying Luxago. There's a link for that down below. You guys get in on our Discord to our VIP trading group. I answer questions. I go more in depth on my thoughts, give you guys updates throughout the day on where I think the market's going. You want to be a part of that, go sign up down below. With that said, though, I do think we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. Let's see. Bituendo said, hey, Tim, Tish. Oh, you're Tish now. Short for T-Shroom, I guess. Is the red dot on the daily MCB confirmed? Do you know how low will it go? Thanks. The red dot on the daily MCB, is that a Market Cipher B, I think? So we don't use Market Cipher B, Bituendo, but obviously we know people that do. If there's a red dot on the daily, yeah, has it been confirmed? I don't know. I don't use that. But I know from my friends, technical analysts who do use Market Cipher, they seem to like that symbol. On my end, I like using again, I think you can get a lot of information using the Luxago oscillator here. And on Bitcoin's daily, let's see here. It's kind of in a neutral zone right now. So I don't know. I don't know what Market Cipher B is saying. I don't know what it's doing. As it stands right now, we just did get a bearish momentum on the oscillator right here at Bitcoin. And I showed people earlier in the video on the 4 hour chart, it looks like Bitcoin wants to pull back down here sooner rather than later. So sorry, I can't answer that question exactly, but that's going to wrap up today's show. Everybody, thank you for being here. Guess what? Crypto's going to go down a little bit. It's going to keep going down. Use it as buying opportunities. Do not flood out of the markets. Do not run away from crypto. Crypto is the safe haven to get away from the problems of fiat currency. Don't run away from crypto back into the evil grasp of fiat. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place. With that said, Adi.
Trying to make paper. Turn that better to cake. Money like Lego. Connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper. Turn that better to cake. Money like Lego. Connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.